Well, welcome. Today I have Fred Lessing, and he's here from the band Daymoon from Portugal, and he's here to talk about his new album, Erosion. And Fred, thank you very much for taking the time to talk with us here at Progressive Rock Central. Tell us, well, as Fish said, tell us the story so far with Daymoon.
Well, first of all, erosion. Ta-da! Okay, well, Daymoon has been around since I was born, I think. It's a very silly name I made up when I was probably 14 or so, when I saw how you write demon in Greek, which is daemon. Or daimon, and daimon, that stuck. Then after that, I moved to Portugal as a youngster. Had my first band here with a very long Portuguese name. And we didn't get very far. It's a very small country, Portugal, so the market is pretty hopeless for progressive, was for progressive rock, and still is. After some years, the band disbanded. They all moved on to more commercial realm, playing music and that kind of thing. Whereas I became a teacher and started making music at home, recorded 3 solo albums, really bad, by myself. And then around 2000 or so, a first album with other musicians. And Andy Tillison of The Tangent got involved, and he mastered and mixed the album and did some stuff on it. He played some stuff, keyboards and so forth. That was our first album released in, well, Russia. That was the only label we found at the time in Moscow, Mel's record. He also released our second album, which was about was the history of the universe in 60 minutes or so. And then we got asked to perform live. We did that, and around that a stable band developed. That stable band, we performed live for about 2 or 3 years, and then they all went away because Portugal, together with the world, went into major crisis, and they moved to other countries, started working on cruise ships, that kind of thing, you know. And once again, I was left alone, just me and the drummer and keyboarder, who's also a composer. And we did my third album after my then wife died. That was Cruz Quebrada. You reviewed that, Mark, beautifully. That was a very difficult album to do.
Yeah.
Especially because at the time the singer, he used to be my singing coach, and his mother died of cancer at the same time while we were recording the album. And if you listen closely, you see how it affected him. Although most people say, oh, the vocals are very sort of downbeat and not very strong, you know,
Well, that's why.
feeble or what. You know, a lot of people said that. No, I asked him to sing a bit sort of like Paul Simon style, basically. I didn't want any strong emotional explosions in the vocals, only in the lyrics. So I wanted to force people to listen. Anyway, that album was our first album on a German label, Progressive Rock, Progressive Promotion Records. And oh, that's my wife. Someone in the background on the stairs coming up. Okay. 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 Yeah, sorry. Anyway,
it's okay.
Yeah, so that was on Progressive Promotion Records. But we only did one album with them, because then after that, again, everyone who was involved in the album went away. And I was left with a new singer, Lavinia. And I thought I'd quit music altogether at that time. I thought I had said everything I had to say on Cruz Quebrada. Critical reception was not particularly good, but I don't care. This was a very personal thing. And then Trump happened.
Yeah.
Well, not only Trump, it was Le Pen. Actually, I started the album about a year before Trump happened. Thinking about Marine Le Pen in France, we had Geert Wilders in the Netherlands, and all these Nazis rising in Germany and Italy, everywhere. Then Trump did the main thing. I think he even triggered Putin in a way. What is happening now? It's all. I think it started there. All these people were emboldened, and I felt I had to write about this. Progressive rock is normally not about politics. So we started in 2015. First song that was Back Home, which is very strongly, very, very political, to say the least. And Lavinia did an amazing job, I think, especially on that one, because I asked her to say things that made her skin crawl.
Yeah.
But she's an actress. She does TV, she does theater, burlesque theater, that kind of thing.
So she's strong.
Yeah, she had just the right stuff to do this, and I think you can hear it on Back Home. That's where she went really way out there, singing Nazi stuff and really, really dark stuff.
Before you get into the album, just real quick,
yes,
talk about sort of the Seattle connection.
Yes,
because we're both. I live here now in the area now, but go ahead.
Yes, that's true. Yes, yes. I worked at Microsoft for some time and lived around Green Park with a Brazilian colleague of mine. Green Park, is it Green Park?
Green Lake.
Green Lake, that's it. Yes, yeah. Green Lake. Gosh, it's long
beautiful
time
area.
ago. 25
beautiful
years.
Area of Seattle. Yeah.
Wonderful. Yes.
I don't know if you know, but there was a stadium built right on Green Lake. I never knew this, but found out through, I don't know, Wikipedia or something. Led Zeppelin actually played there. I mean, they used to have concerts there. I mean, like classical concerts, and they had the ladies swimming in the water and the whole show type, 20s, 30s show things. But eventually Led Zeppelin, and I think, I don't remember the full connection, but I think the Heart ladies, the girls from Heart, saw them, and that kind of, they were there. They're from Seattle, the band Heart. Yeah. And Nancy Wilson, they were at that show, and that's what inspired them to say, let's do this. And the rest is history. But anyway, yeah, I actually went down there, took pictures of the place, because I thought somebody's lying about this, but it's there. But anyway, it's a beautiful lake too, and the place is full on days like today when it's beautiful.
Yes. Well, those are my main memories of Seattle. Wonderful place. I love the place. Also discovered really good coffee. But now you get Starbucks coffee even at our local supermarket. Times have changed.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I sort of diverted you from erosion. You were going to go ahead and talk about that, but I just we have that little connection. We haven't met yet, but I think yes. Definitely both want to meet.
True. I'm sure we'll still meet in real life. I know. Yeah, just back to the band. In the course of the album, and actually on the previous albums, there were a few constant people. There was a wind instrument player, Portuguese jazz musician, Paulo. And he's been there since the very beginning. He's one of the people who got me into modern prog. There's this Prague Festival in northern Portugal. Used right until the pandemic, yearly thing, 3 days usually, and there were bands from all over the world, like Bent Knee played there recently, the last festival. But you also had like Jethro Tull, you had Robert Fripp played there. I don't know. All these people, I actually met a lot of these people personally because I'm the official translator of the festival. They have them.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah, there's debate in the morning in the libraries on Sunday morning, which is run by Thomas Olsen, who's now the guitarist in our band. He was on the previous albums as well, but they were all sort of passive. Then there was also Luca Calabrese, the trumpet player. Mm-hmm. He's been there too. He's been there in all Daymoon albums. Again, more or less passive. And Luca plays with Isildur's Bane, a wonderful Swedish prog band, whose manager and all sorts of things is Thomas Olsen. We became personal friends over the years. And on this album, on Erosion, they all had a really active part. Thomas actually wrote some of the material. And so Daymoon is now these people, one person from Sweden, Thomas Olsson, Luca Calabrese from Italy, Lavinia from Portugal, and Paulo from Portugal. That's us right now. So we don't have a, sorry?
Multinational. Good.
Multinational, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. We were hoping actually now to perform here in Portugal for the first time, but with my health problems, it's a bit tricky at the moment. Well, anyway, our next album is not going to have drums because we don't have a drummer. Not only that, because it's a challenge. Should you make music without drums? Let's see about that. Well, anyway, that's Daymoon in a large nutshell.
Let's talk about the opener because it's a beauty. The Forest Without Us. I didn't say it in the interview. I mean, in the review, but reminds me of the opening of the movie, The English Patient. And I know you weren't copying or anything like that, but that's a poetic way of sort of bringing it together. If you've anyone who's listening to this has ever seen the beginning of that movie where they're flying over the desert, it's beautiful. And he's going to tell you a little bit of background of Armenian music, which is similar, but okay.
That's true. That's right. But
there's a lot more to the story than that. But
yeah, that's true. Yes. I promise I'll rewatch the English Patient because I can hardly remember it. I must confess. The beginning is based on not only this song. There are influences all over the album of Armenian music. I got deeply into Tigran Hamasyan, jazz pianist, musician from Armenia. Do check him out; he's wonderful. And through him, I got into Armenian music, especially kind of religious music. I'm not religious, but the music is wonderful. It's what we can listen to Bach, and Bach is religious, and you need to be religious to enjoy that. It's based a bit on, quite a bit on Armenian vocal music. And I asked Lavinia to sing without any instrument at all. She was really afraid of that. Then I forced her to listen to tons of Armenian religious music, which she digested, poor thing, and then she gave it her own twist. So that's the beginning of the song, which then moves into a real fun part for me and Lavinia. It's a guitar part, just two acoustic guitars. Lavinia and I, we composed this just for the fun of it, really. Used to play it after supper at home here. She'd come over with her boyfriend and have dinner, and then we just sit down and play that, and then, well, it moves into that, and then for anyone who really likes Daymoon, if you go back to Kruška Brada, the album before that, listen to the song Time. That has a melody going through it, very important melody. And it's the same melody we used here because the song is about, the album starts off with Lavinia talking to my former wife who passed away. My former wife was a socialist. I never know what exactly that means in America. In Europe, it means something a lot. It would be similar to the Democrats. I mean,
yeah.
Pretty
Over
much
here,
that.
they hear the word and it's like, oh my God, communist.
I know.
It's nothing. Yeah.
Well, she was a very thorough socialist and very vocal about it. And she died before Trump and all that happened. And she would have hated it. And at the same time, mass tourism started as well in the little town where we live here, which I'd love to show you. It's really, really pretty, Sintra. Look it up, look at photographs. It's a wonderful little, magical little town near Lisbon. Yeah. But mass tourism took over with tuk-tuks driving up our street, tourists walking into our garden. There's no one living in my street anymore. It's all Airbnb. It's all pretty sad. So the world changed. What we loved about our life got ruined. Democracy got ruined. It's erosion. Yeah. So that's how we started the album, and then you have wonderful guitars that sound like keyboards going on in the background. No, that's actually Thomas Olsen on his guitars. It's very wonderful atmospheric guitars he plays there. And the whole second part, where drums set in, is a development of the acoustic guitar piece written by Thomas Olsen, composed, and Paulo plays this crazy saxophone solo on top. That's the first part. If you listen closely, you hear tuk-tuks, you hear tourists, you hear the noise and how things degrade, and it's horrible.
Well, let's go to something that I know you had a lot of fun with, part of Turkey.
Yes, pardon the truck. Oh, that took ages. My God, that song, just to record it, just recording it took really, I don't know, 2.5, 3 years. So a lot of work, but a lot of fun. In that song, I tried to do what people normally accuse Daymoon of, which is being totally inconsistent and throwing everything possible into the mix. And that song was written by me mostly, and Lavinia, and we totally overdid it. This was so much fun to have a little movie, really. It starts off with more or less like cowboys, I think, like Johnny Cash or something, And then Lavinia is having a great time, actually, while she was singing that first bit, with that sort of country music in the background. She was sort of slapping her thighs as if she had a lasso or something like that. It was really, really a lot of fun. And then it moves on into really wild work out of strange rhythms and heavier stuff. which got completely wrecked by Paulo and Luca on their wind instruments. Beautifully wrecked, of course, that was the purpose. And it moves on and on. There's a bit in the middle where I asked Lavinia to sing like Melanie. Do you know Melanie? What was her name? You know the one who sang "What Have They Done to My Song, Ma"?
Oh yeah.
You remember that? Okay.
I don't know the name of the person, but I know the song. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. She was called Melanie Safka. That was her name, Melanie Safka. And I asked her to sing like her, and she did not. She said, she says I'd sing like Janis Joplin, and she did. Mixed with Bob Dylan or something. And the whole song is full of little references that are very personal. I don't think anyone gets those. They're really too weird. And towards the end of the song, I have no idea whether people understand this. I hope. I know some people got it, but we imagined an Italian movie about a fascist little fishing town, you know. Lavinia is the woman with the flag, you know, running ahead, leading all those fascists into the sea where they all hopefully drown. And then you hear the church bells and the seagulls and the song's over. That's it. And it's all, the whole song, if you listen very carefully, is actually just a development, variations on 4 notes going down. It's always the same. Da, 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 da. It's all that throughout the song in the most very, I'm sorry, wait.
There's so much going on. Yeah, definitely.
Okay, yeah, that's Part in the Turkey. Oh, and by the way, Part in the Turkey, of course, is based on Trump, who you hear in the middle of the song.
Yes.
Pardoning the turkeys.
Whatever that means. Everyone else.
Yes, well, Turkey, of course, is Erdogan, the Turkish president.
Yeah.
Who's another one of those. Yeah. But anyway, that's all. It's all very stupid jokes that no one gets.
No, it's a good one. Yeah, no. Yeah.
Yeah, welcome to the silliness of Daymoon.
But it was good. No, I'm glad you had fun with that one. All right. The forest within us. So we had the forest without us, now the forest within us. And well, you told me I didn't get it to begin with. So
no one does.
Explain. Well, go ahead. I looked at it more, sort of the good side, and you told me what it really meant.
It's just,
and I was like, stupid. Whoa, okay.
Well, yeah, that's a stupid joke.
No, it's good. Go.
Well, it was at first, it was called Garden Gnome, and later on Garden Genome. And the genome being, the DNA of things. And what you hear, the whole thing was, in the very beginning, this was all pretty much all of it done by the drummer and keyboard, and asked him to do something with a silly instrument I have, an African instrument, can't remember, kalimba. Okay, well, you play it with your fingers like this, and he did, and he recorded some instruments on top of that, and then we put that away. I discovered it at some stage later on, and I thought, oh, this sounds very beautiful. That's the second part. The first part is just me, a workout between me and the keyboard, pretty much, and Luca Calabrese playing along on the trumpet. So the second part is that sort of slightly African sounding bit, maybe, I don't know. And then you hear a voice, a computerized voice, which is quoting part of the DNA, the genome, yes, the DNA sequence of the coronavirus. So that's a garden genome for you, and the forest within us.
All right.
That's pretty much it. That's probably the strangest reference ever to the pandemic you get.
No, it was. I'm glad you enlightened me. Definitely.
Okay. So also, I personally had some trouble with with the virus in its indirect form with the vaccine.
Yeah.
Went pretty bad for me. But had I caught COVID, it would have gone even worse. So that's the forest within us.
Yeah. All right. Transaegean Express. There is a very tragic story, which I didn't realize until you told me that. Go ahead.
Yeah, it is. It is. Well, it's the story of a migrant. Oh gosh, we'll get lots of migrants now, I guess,
And
new
yeah, we're
migrants.
going through a war right now. So yeah.
Yes. I know all of a sudden the
Hopefully
world,
this isn't repeated, but yeah.
well, it's, the world is going to listen this time. It's a strange world. Yes, it's the story of a migrant. If you listen closely at the beginning, you hear sand, you hear wind and footsteps in the sand, which then go into something, walk into something, which as I explained very briefly on the record, in the booklet, is an abandoned mosque in the desert. Inside sits a musician with a string instrument called saz. It's a Turkish thing that I played. And you hear water, which I recorded in an empty museum in Lisbon to turn on the water in a cupola, in a vault place. It was really, really wonderful.
Mhm.
So you hear that. And well, then if you listen closely, you need to listen closely for that. Actually, you hear bombs destroying the whole thing. And our migrant, who has no name, runs through war. And then it moves into an instrumental bit, which think of it as war, perhaps. That's what it was meant to be. It has a slight a Tigran Hamassian influence again. It's simply because there's a repeating keyboard, piano, going just always the same note. It's very Tigran-like, but everything else around is not. Our poor migrant, moves on until he reaches a harbor, probably in Greece or we don't know, Turkey, somewhere. Gets on a boat, and then crosses the Aegean, the Mediterranean, Greece, over into Italy, where the police is already waiting and disbands all the migrants. But this musically is mostly, lots of this is due to Thomas on the guitars. He did, I'd say, 70% of the whole thing, just playing guitars. There are hardly any keyboards, very strange guitars. For example, he took an ebow and just played one note for a long time, then another note, and then another in different tracks. And then he asked me to build harmonies from that. In the end, it sounds like a harmonium, but it's there. The sounds took ages to compile. The very strange sounds. Lavinia did a lot of very strange percussions on that, like on kettles and things that she bashed in the studio. There's all sorts of strange things going on in that song. It's very long. I gave everyone a lot of room. And Paulo or the two wind people, yes, Paulo and Luca, were wonderful, absolutely wonderful with what they did. The ambience and everything is amazing. At the very end in Italy, you get a sort of Tarantino vibe or something, if you want.
I think that's what I caught. Yeah. And
yeah.
Yeah.
And I tried to record the percussion for that, and I couldn't. And our drummer had gone. He lives in London now. He only played the drums at the very, very end. So I looked around on the internet on some place, and there was this wonderful musician from Spain who recorded these things. He charged me €50, the best €50 I ever paid in my life. And then he never came back and never said anything. So I don't think I know his real name even. It's very sad. He's wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's
Well, yeah.
Trans-Aegean crossing for you.
No, that's sad because yeah, you want to keep connected with somebody like that, and they're just happy to play that one part. And
Yeah.
yeah. All right, the Pyre gets back into the right wing demolition, and for those that know me, I'm not afraid to talk about politics. I'm definitely anti right wing.
Yeah.
We fought 2 wars against it, and we don't need a third. But
Yeah.
go ahead.
Let's not. God. Yeah. Yeah. The Pyre was initially not really a political piece or anything. It was an instrumental piece. That's me on the main guitar that you hear there in the first part. It's the kind of guitar I love to play, sort of slinky, you know. Yeah, and well, lots of how shall I put this? There's a chorus, okay, in the first part. Da, 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 da. No, that's not it. Oh, forget it. Anyway, never mind. There's a chorus where I wanted to have the guitar speak or sing. Yes, not the usual solo thing or something like that. Not just play melody. No, have it sing. That's what I tried to do in the first part. And then the second part started off with just an improv between me on the bass guitar and the drummer. Recorded that before you went away, and that was just lying around. And then Thomas Olsen worked on that, and he recorded as a really fun solo, I think. One sounds so much like Carlos Santana. But he recorded like 6 different solos or so. I just picked 2, and I thought they're wonderful. They sound wonderful together. So it has 2 solos at the same time. And then the piece builds towards the end when you have Greta Thunberg and Malaya speaking. And then we worked, Lavinia and I worked on the sound bites. And we thought about the whole concept of the album. So we took Thomas Mann, recorded 1941 or so, saying this wonderful sentence about what Nazis do to the world. And then you have more and more sound bites. You have Hitler speaking. You have Charlie Chaplin. Quite a lot, yes. A lot of that is inverted. We reversed it. So yes, you have that song, which I'm really proud of. And the man who recorded, who mixed our album and mastered it, Vince Welch from Boston, of Bentley. It's his favorite song on the album, and he loves how the song explodes at one. There's one specific moment in the second part, third part, if you want, where it just explodes like that, pow, you know, with tubular bells, etc. The whole lot, you know. And that was fun to work with him on that, you know, just to explain, no, I want this to go wow like this into the listener's ears, you know. Okay, yeah, that was the Pyre about burning box. The end, yeah, that's just
Joyous, so joyous. Kind of has a well. I'll let you talk about the Anthem of Europe and that very deep meaning to it. They all have a deep meaning, but I mean this one in particular really struck me.
Oh, this is a very difficult one. I don't think people will listen to that many times because it's very difficult to sit through, I believe. It started off as a very low-key sound collage that I did with the drummer, and our Apollo played a very strange flute underneath, dissonant, completely dissonant, but almost just one or two notes the whole thing through. Then we actually thought about throwing that away.
Oh God.
Yeah, well, because there was nothing in the beginning. There was hardly anything. Then Thomas Olsson came over for holidays, and he sat down and did some really weird guitars. I don't know, 20 tracks of strange guitars and things and experiments. And I had no idea what to do with that either. I was totally at a loss. I thought, okay, well, just leave it there. And then Lavinia heard it. Lavinia said, let me give it a try. And it took her, I'd say, half a year to take everything, deconstruct it, reconstruct it, and the message is hers. It's anti-fascist, but it's also strongly anti-masculinity, anti-macho. It's extremely emotional, very difficult. It should really be her talking about it. Unfortunately, she's not here today. It's very hard to sit through the whole thing. At the very end, what you hear, oh, by the way, the sound bites you hear are mostly European fascists.
Fascist, yeah.
Speaking, like from Holland, from Germany, from pretty much everywhere. You also have Hitler all of a sudden saying, "Wollt ihr den totalen Krieg? Do you want total war?" Horrible.
Sounds like somebody recently. Yeah.
It is fairly frightening.
Yeah.
You have there's our drummer quoting Nietzsche. Not that I'm not saying Nietzsche is a Nazi or anything. Quite the opposite. I really like Nietzsche. And musically, I asked the guitarist Thomas to make some references to the Hymn of Joy, Beethoven's Ninth. Okay, he did sort of rather subtle. It turns up in invert and whatever, and then you get a really strange choir singing in the middle. All of a sudden, whoa. So really weird. Okay, that's actually the Hymn of Joy the other way round.
Okay.
So Lavinia had to actually sing the other way round. So we wrote that down really minutely, how to pronounce these things, German things, the other way round.
Wow.
And the melody is the other way round as well. It's very strange stuff, really strange stuff.
No, but there's a point to it. Yeah, you have to look at everything.
Oh yes. The whole thing is
Context.
Strange. Yes. Okay, well that's yeah.
All right.
That's a heavy song. Joyous. Oh, joyous. Oh, yeah.
And then back home, you started talking about it, but
Back Home was our first thing that we recorded for this. Must have probably been 2015, 16 maybe. Before Trump. The lyrics were written before Trump. And that was Lavinia's first thing for Daymoon. Lavinia is a TV actress. She's a theater actress. She does burlesque theater, where she sings. And I invited her actually initially just for that. I thought, okay, let's see how she's going to get the emotion across, especially also after the criticism we had for Kruško Brada, that there was not enough emotion. We didn't want that then. But yes, here I wanted it. Yeah. And Lavinia was wonderful. She really freaked out over the lyrics because they're very dark, very, very dark. And they ended, I mean, they weren't, I don't want to say prophetic, but it eventually happened. Trump arose, and then all of a sudden all these fascists got emboldened after 2016. And we were tempted to release that song just at the time when people voted for Trump. But the album was already growing around it, so I don't like singles or anything.
Yeah.
So that's a strange song where we left in some of the keyboard drums. Some people hate that. I don't know. They're off my Korg keyboard. Yeah, some people say, "What's hip hop doing here?" Well, I don't know. I like it. I don't know. We were dreaming of having a string quartet to do. There's a section where you have dissonant strings going on. We're dreaming of getting a string quartet. But no, we're a prog band from Portugal. We can't have a string band.
All right.
So, yeah. But it's a nice sing-along as well, if you listen closely, I think. It has a sort of a catchy chorus with nasty lyrics.
But they're good. Yeah.
Yes.
If
Thank you.
Come from the same feeling. Yeah.
Yes, quite. It's our least favorite because production is not that good, and Vince Welch of Bentley didn't touch this one. He only mastered it. And it sounds good in the context, but we don't like the sound of it. Not that much. We're thinking about leaving it out, but well, would be unfair.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you left it in.
Okay.
All right. Fjord.
Fjord, yes, a fjord.
Fjord. Yeah.
Well, you have fjords pretty much more or less near Seattle, I think. Well, a bit further north, yes.
Yeah.
This was written not by me. This was written by Andre, the drummer and keyboarder, who had already gone away to work on cruise ships as a sound engineer and video engineer and things. And when he came back, I asked him, "Do me a favor, go to the studio, record whatever you want about the most beautiful moment you had on your travels." And he sat down. Then after, I don't know, actually, I think it took him quite a while, 2 or 3 days, just the piano. He came and said, "Well, look, Fred, this is it. That was a fjord in Norway. This was so beautiful and empty." And well, then he went away. And I asked Luca Calabrese to play the trumpet, which he did beautifully. I love the trumpet on that. I played some very, very subtle guitars, ambient. And towards the end, we understand that we are on a cruise ship because you have Andy Tillison of the Tangent.
Captain.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are in this wonderful fjord and we're going away now for some hip party somewhere else in Amsterdam or whatever, and the ship takes off with really tacky music, which was written by my daughter-in-law. I will not translate the lyrics because they're not proper. But if you're Portuguese, they're actually very funny and you have to listen very closely to understand them. It's about more or less what a person can do to have fun when they're by themselves. It's pretty much that. And the boat goes away and the fjord is empty again. So it's once again mass tourism. It's wonderful to be in a fjord, like my friend said. But of course, you're sitting in this giant cruise ship, which is, of course, ruining the whole place. You don't notice it because you're in the ship. Yeah, okay. That's short, yes.
Yeah. I don't have anything to add. You nailed that. All right. And then the final piece is so deep and so mesmerizing, but there's a better word that isn't coming to me now, that just could our future be what we're so desperate to go and look at, which is this barren planet of Mars. And you want to talk about that? That's the way I thought of it. Is here we're in this hurry, in this almost competitive atmosphere with all these countries to go to this desert. We
Yes.
got plenty of desert here, and yet, we're thinking of rebuilding. And it's not just a desert; it's like a 500-degree or more desert. I mean, it's just crazy. I mean, yes, it's fantastic to finally be able to say we landed on another planet. I'm all for that. I think that's, I'm definitely an adventure. I'm into exploring, but uh, I would have gone somewhere else. But that's me. But, yeah.
Well,
But go ahead. I'm
I'd
gonna
go
shut
to
up and
Mars.
let you go.
Yeah, well, I'd go to Mars anyway because it's been a lifelong obsession of mine because of Ray Bradbury. I don't know if you know the
Yeah, yeah,
writer, yes, and he
yeah.
has these Martian Chronicles,
Star Trek, right?
wonderful. No. He
Oh,
wrote. He's before Star Trek. He's from the 40s, 50s.
okay.
He wrote something called Martian Chronicles,
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah.
which are wonderful.
That's a
They're
big.
really poetry. They're not. Mars has nothing to do with like the astronauts get there and what they find is just people like regular people like here. You don't even care about them. You go somewhere, there's some granny sitting there and says, "Do you want to have some tea?" That's Martians for you. But it's really my hope that. Like I said on the fabric of space divine, I think mankind has little option in the end, not now, but in the distant future, but to move out. There's very little choice, to spread, and to do that, mankind has to unite because it's so expensive, so difficult. You would have to terraform Mars. You would have to change it, make it into a livable planet. I don't know if that is feasible, but with a lot of money and all nations involved, it would work. Meaning, mankind would have to get its shit together, really, so to
Well,
say.
and
Um,
I think my wife has always said, and I've always said it too, but why don't we fix what's going on here before we
oh yes,
turn it
yes,
into
yes.
Mars? I mean,
Yes.
you're not going to need to go to Mars, in 2 or 3 decades. It's going to be here if we don't get our act together.
Yeah, well, now there's there's no doubt about that. The way the world is turning, but it just expresses my hope for a distant future, and for a kind of mankind that unites. And I'm a strong
Yeah,
believer in science, and just classical science. Um, so this song uh, is about that, but the lyrics, I think, speak for themselves. It's
yes,
takes place probably in, I'd say, in about 300 years time or 400 years time. I don't know. But there have been generations of people on Mars. They've built a an Earth memorial, and spires and things. There's a tricentennial choir, meaning they've been there at least 300 years. Um, the fun part about this is actually the music. Uh, I wrote, the concept came to me when I watched a show about the Beatles.
oh, yeah.
They took apart Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, I believe, and showed how the music, how the melody never repeats anything. It does later on, like there are verses and chorus, but within that, it wasn't classical in the sense, like A, B, A, B. No, it was something really weird going on. And usually around a shift around a note. Okay. So you take a note, and a note can be part of different harmonies. Um, that's what I did in this song. It doesn't have a chorus, and it progresses without repeating itself much. Uh, so to really get the song, you have to wait until the end.
Yeah.
Then you have to listen to it again and say, okay, yeah. Then after 4 or 5 times, you actually get the melody, because it's nice and all that. I try to make it nice, but it's not repetitive or anything. So that was my musical point about this. Um, the This was a real challenge for Lavinia to sing. She wanted to. She comes from the 80s. She's an 80s child. The Cure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hint, hint, hint.
Yeah.
That kind of thing, I don't know, Joy Division, etc. She loves that, Cocktail Twins. And I asked her to sing a very straight 70s style. I didn't show her much. It could have been, I don't know, Renaissance or something like that, And then towards the end, you have this choir going on, under distant earthlight. And she recorded all these voices and second voice, third voices, etc. And at some stage, she asked me, "What's the reference here?" And I said, "Well, very easy. That's ABBA. I want ABBA. I want ABBA."
Yeah.
Of course, it doesn't sound like ABBA because she would never do that in her life. I think she could, but she wouldn't. I told the same thing to Vince Welch of Bent Knee. When he mixed the song, he sent me something back that didn't sound at all like I wanted in the final choir. I said, no, Vince, I want ABBA. Give me ABBA. It's silly, I know. But anyway, there's silly Daymoon humor for you that no one gets anyway, so who cares?
No.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, that wraps up the album.
Well, I know somebody as creative as you is always working on the next chapter. Um, are are you there, or are you?
Yes,
I mean, no, you
yes.
can't be possibly.
I've begun already.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry to tell the world. Sorry, world. I'm working on a next album. The next one is going to be even more inclusive of all musicians. There's going to be, as I said, no drums, probably percussion. It's going to be mostly instrumental this time, but there's going to be one song that I wrote when I was 14.
Oh my goodness! Wow.
Yes, we're going to include that because everyone loves it. It's a very silly song about going to the moon, Jules Verne style, in a dream ship. Okay. It's called Oceans of the Moon. We'll include that, but the rest is going to be the album's probably going to be called Everlasting Wednesday.
Yeah.
Everlasting Wednesday. Well, I've got Wednesday. I have my Wednesday videos, which I do for Facebook and on Instagram. Everlasting Monday is a poem by Sylvia Plath, an American poetess who died when I was very, very young. I think she died 1960, 61. And when I was a youngster, I was madly in love with Sylvia Plath. And at the age of 17, sorry, at the age of 17 or so, I wrote a melody about the wind blowing over Sylvia Plath's grave. It's a silly melody, melancholy, very childish. And much of the album is going to be based on that melody. So it's going. I don't know what's going to sound like in the end. I know how it's going to work. That's all. Where we're going to base improvisations off each other, and the improv bits will then be turned into actual music and worked upon. And then someone else does something, etc. It's going to be really complex and fun to work on. And it's going to take another 4 or 5 years, I believe, as always.
And that's fine. When it does come out, it's beautiful. It's different. It's
well, let's see what's going to happen to it.
So
well, it's not your old rock music, no. I'm afraid. I come from Baroque music. I originally played a flute, the recorder, Baroque stuff, Telemann, Handel, Bach, that kind of thing.
Which is wonderful.
And I'm moving slowly in that direction again, mixed with, say, jazz and a bit of rock and pop. Lots of pop music. I love that. Give me ABBA.
He's really hung up on that. Yeah. Good to see him back. No, I know. I know you can. But yeah, they actually, was it this year or No, I think it was last year they came back with an album.
Yeah, this is horrible.
Oh, yeah, I haven't heard it.
But the Masters, I mean,
I'm not much of a fan. I
the-
like them, but I mean, I like the popular songs, but
yeah.
I never got into them like other people did. But I
No,
don't
no.
hate them or anything. You
I, mean,
know,
I would never again call you professor if you did.
no, they're good. No, they're good. They're absolutely they know how to sell albums for sure. But
Yes.
they um, it's just not my cup of tea completely.
No,
But
no. Well,
I
they know how to
definitely
write a
understand
melody.
them. I think they're doing a good job with what they do.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's fun. Yeah. Sort of like for people our age wanting to have a fun party out with, uh,
Well,
with
well,
their
I learned
colleagues from work or something. That's
yeah,
probably what they do.
I learned a long time ago. I worked at a record store, and people would put on all sorts of different music, and oh my god, this is horrible, this is terrible. And the manager came up to me and said, no, listen, you're not going to be able to keep working here if you're doing this out loud in front of people. You've got to learn that, whatever this is, probably it was country back then, but there is a fan base. There is in fact, more people listen to country music. I don't know if it's still true, but more people listen to country. He pointed out to me, more people listen to country at that time than rock and roll or anything else in the United States. So don't criticize that. Appreciate it, and keep your opinions to yourself in terms of, he's not trying to change my mind on country, but he's just, don't be careful because there may be people listening. And it was a wonderful moment. It wasn't a disciplinary or anything like that. He just opened my eyes, and I said, yeah, that's right. I mean, there is a market for this.
Of course,
Definitely,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
definitely not me, but there are other people that really love this, and there's no reason to insult it. Yeah. And
Believe it or not, when I
me,
was in Seattle with my former wife back in the 90s, we one day we rented a car and went for a long trip, I think 3 days or so. And someone gave us a Dixie Chicks album. We had no idea who they were.
yeah,
And I remember really clearly being south of the Olympic Peninsula. Is that the name?
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That
Peninsula
huge
Loop.
park. Yeah. And I think that the border there is to Oregon, isn't it? Is
Yeah,
it? Yeah, okay, yeah. I remember we drove across the border, just as the Dixie Chicks were singing, honk the border as you cross the borderline. No, honk your horn as you cross the borderline. And my wife burst into tears. So country has its charms.
yeah. And I mean, I grew up with my dad listening to Johnny Cash and Hank Williams Jr. and all that stuff. And I guess maybe that's why I had this negative opinion. Now, I love my father, but I hated the music. I mean, I was like, Dad, how can you play this stuff? But he played everything. I mean, he really did. But it seemed that he really stuck to those a lot. And I guess I remember hearing those a lot. And anyway, I mean, country music has definitely evolved. So I'm not an anti-country music person. You're not going to see me probably turning it on, but I don't maybe turn it off either. I mean, if somebody else is listening to it, I'll let them listen to it. So that record store manager, years and years ago, that stuck with me, and he's right. He's absolutely right. No one is making bad music. They're just making the music that people like them want to hear,
Yeah.
and there's nothing wrong with it. It's freedom of expression.
So you would probably have turned off Pardon the Turkey if nothing else had happened after about
No,
a
no,
minute
no.
and a
Like I
half.
say, I've evolved from that. But yeah, and I was never really militant, anti-country. But if I heard it, I'd probably walk away back then. And now I'll give it a listen and give it a chance, and maybe then walk away. But um, So yeah, no. uh,
Well, we have, and pardon the Turkey if you listen to the beginning of the country, but
yeah,
it was country until Paulo took his woodwinds and played something I think thoroughly Portuguese on top of that. So I don't know what it sounds like now. It's really weird. I love that.
no, but that didn't offend me at all. No, and
No, no, okay.
I've heard it in. Uh, well, I won't mention the name, but I was talking to another uh, progressive rock um, singer and musician, and some of his favorite were Johnny Cash and some of these things, and I'm like, how did you make that stretch? Because I don't see Johnny as, I mean, he was a fantastic writer, fantastic
Yeah.
musician, but I didn't see him as a prog writer. But yeah,
Well,
the basic.
look at Neil
Well, Neil
Morse
Young,
or
yeah,
or the Flower Kings. They always have these country
yeah,
things going on in the middle. All of them.
yeah,
Uh, I try to avoid that, except when on purpose, like in Pardon the Turkey.
yeah,
But apart from that, no.
yeah. It's amazing. It's amazing where people pull their influences. And like I say, I never thought this person would have liked that. But hey, no, I mean, I'm sure they don't listen to it all the time, but they did find some influence, which I was completely surprised. But hey, that's how you learn, that's how you develop, that's how you hopefully change and don't stay the same. Nobody wants to do that.
Well, if you listen closely to their music, in the end, you always find that
Yeah.
influence somewhere. It's always there, probably in the harmonic structure or the build up or whatever. It's all always there. Do you know the Tangent? This
Oh
UK
yeah,
band.
yeah,
Okay, like Andy really
yeah,
loves disco,
yeah,
and it always shows that there's always disco somewhere.
yeah.
You can't get. And I mean, he comes from punk. His first band was a punk band.
Punk band. Wow.
Yeah, it was actually quite fun. But then
Yeah.
he discovered that he likes disco, and so I think it always shows, where you come from. And with me, it doesn't show that. I don't think it shows that I like Baroque music.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. I always try to hide my influences. Probably that's why I make music. Oh, never thought of that. Yeah, that's how you describe Daymoon, the music without influences.
Well, Fred, is there anything else that you would like to discuss which we haven't?
Um, no, I think I have to wrap it up just simply because it's time for supper.
Yeah.
My wife is
Lunch
probably
for
very
me.
hungry.
But yeah.
Um, yes, we must meet up. Do you ever travel to Europe?
One of these days, well, with COVID finishing, we were thinking about going.
Yeah,
Now, with a major war in the middle of the
yeah,
continent, no, there's nothing that's not going to bother me because I'll stay in Western Europe, but uh, we'll see. I really, my undergraduate major was history and political science, and so for me, there's so many places from Athens all the way up to um, um, Norway, Sweden. I mean,
yeah,
there's so much I want to see and be able to put, a real life experience behind
yeah.
all that reading I did and all that stuff I learned about. So yes, I mean, I definitely want to be there when um,
Things
we're
calm
gonna.
down.
No, we're gonna see.
Hopefully.
And but no, I absolutely love Europe. I have studied it all my life, and I want to go. So the what's the word? The spirit is there. It's just not the
The opportunity, no.
well, not so much opportunity, but the time isn't right.
Yeah.
But it will be. There will, and that's the thing. I'm kind of the eternal optimist. The time will come. The time will be right, and when it is, definitely we will. My wife is from Ecuador. That's our first trip. We're going to go there first, and then definitely. I've got some friends in Australia that also want me to come there, and I always have had an interest in Australia. So, but yeah, I definitely want to travel the world, and maybe that's what I'll do for retirement. So, to finally put all these historic places in front of me, yeah, I definitely want to do.
Yeah, well, Sintra is
The place that
perfect.
yeah, I was just going to say, yeah, the Portugal that you talked about and the pictures that I've seen and video looks beautiful, and that would be another wonderful place to go.
And you'd have a place to stay.
Well, thank you very much.
And so we have room,
Yeah.
plenty of it.
Well, let me go ahead and thank you very much, Fred Lessing, for taking the time to talk with us here at ProgressiveRockCentral.com. We definitely wish you all the best in your future endeavors, and I know this next album is going to be just as good, or if not better. And I'll let you say something, then I'm going to go ahead and just stop the recording, and you and I can chat for a little bit.
Okay. Well, thank you, Professor Mark and Progressive Rock Central, for this wonderful opportunity to make our album hopefully a bit more well-known out there, and our music. We need you, listeners, and you need us.
You do. He's teaching you something. He's hopefully entertaining you at the same time. And without that, why are we here? I mean, we need music. We need more to our lives than just work every day.
Yes.
Well,
Okay, Mark.
All right, hold on just a second.
Okay.